What the? Yeah, that was 50 to 100 in like, what the hell? So now we're here at 90 kilometers an hour. Let's go. 150, 170, 200, crazy, 220, 250, what the? What? What? Everything you need to know about the upcoming new Porsche Cayenne. Also, what about the Porsche Macan combustion engine version and what's going on at Porsche. You've maybe read the news that they dropped revenue massively. What do they have to do now? What are the problems? Later on, more about that. We'll start here with the new Porsche Cayenne, the first electric Cayenne, the full electric Cayenne. A tour now with Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Here still in the camouflage paint, but you can already see the daytime running light signature. They took the base platform from the Porsche Macan Electric, but now redeveloped it so that they already somehow talk of a new platform even for this full electric Cayenne model. And you can see it has the strong Cayenne stance. This one is also the Cayenne Turbo, the most powerful model, and the numbers already are pretty impressive. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is under 3 seconds in the acceleration figure, and 0 to 200 kilometers an hour is under 10 seconds. And top speed, 250 kilometers an hour or 155 miles per hour. This is really supercar-alike, definitely, from these figures. These are 22-inch wheels, the biggest ones that will be available. Of course, smaller ones will be there too. Typical Cayenne styling also in the side profile. However, this one here is a little bit longer than the combustion engine version. So the length I'll calculate with at the moment is 4,97 meters or 196 inches. This one also massively more wheelbase than the combustion version, so this one will be having more legroom here, especially in the rear, and it will still be able to carry 3.5 tons in towing. That is kind of special for an electric vehicle. In the rear there will probably be light strip going through. Here you can see these are like camouflage plastic parts still to hide the final design. Soon more about that. This interesting special feature for the Turbo gets this flap, aerodynamic flap, that goes out in high-speed driving then to increase aerodynamic efficiency. Here this diffuser styling in the lower part. And the battery size, very important, will be 108 kilowatt hours net, and it's of course a significant size. The WLTP figure, this official driving cycle for the EU, for this one here with this battery, which will be the only battery here, this 108 kilowatt hours. So this driving cycle figure is 600 kilometers. Real world driving range, also with more motorway share, will be probably more about like 500 kilometers, 300 miles. It depends. More in the city, less in high-speed motorway. However, one problem is the BMW iX3, which we'll also present to you in the final version. This one will have an 800 kilometer WLTP figure. Yes, it's a different segment, it's a smaller one, but still with electric vehicles, people more and more think about, hey, they compare in like between segments also, and they, hey, if I come like 150 kilometers more with the iX3, I maybe go for this one and also pay half the price. So this is a problem for the big new Porsche Cayenne Electric. However, the performance figures, as I just said, speak for the vehicle if you want this really hard punch. And also it recharges extremely quickly. So here, there's a charging flat, cannot open it at this moment yet. 800 volt infrastructure or architecture, and the charging peak is 400 kilowatts, and it's also remaining like over like a very wide span. And now think about this, 108 kilowatt hour battery, and it charges from 10 to 80% in 16 minutes. This is incredible, and among the leading cars there, definitely. You know, there is, for example, the Zeekr 7X, which also has a very quick charging possibility. This one, for example, to mention, but definitely here among the top ones in the super fast charging. So this will be the thing. Yeah, you can then maybe do a quick motorway trip and get some energy back in the car very quickly. Then about suspension, air suspension is standard, optional rear axle steering up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction. And this one will be optional, also available with the Porsche Active Ride. This is this hydraulic system, one hydraulic pump per wheel, that the car is always remaining upright. It's not a necessary feature. We've tested it, for example, with the Porsche Panamera and also with the Porsche Taycan. It's super interesting technology-wise, but the base suspension will probably give you, let's say, a more natural feeling of the vehicle. And very important here, the Cayenne Electric will run parallel with the so far combustion engine model of the Cayenne. It's exactly the same thing they should have done with the Macan. They dropped the combustion engine Macan, huge problem for Porsche. We'll also at the end of the video talk about this issue, because there's news also about the Macan combustion version. And now a concise charging test. We have driven this one here under 10% state of charge. It's a new Porsche charging lounge. It's really high class stuff. And then let's see how long we take and how high is the charging peak and also where it's maintained. Here we can see, I mean, we just plugged in and we're already at 350 kilowatt almost. So the peak we just had briefly then was at about 388 kilowatt, and now at about around 50%, we're dropping a little bit to a little bit under 300 kilowatt. But the peak we just had it at about 45% was 388 kilowatt. But it's more important that this charging curve is being maintained over a long period of time. So here we took now 12 minutes from 8% to 71%. That's already impressive, and you can see here it still holds the kilowatt. And here we are still at around 200 kilowatt, 79%. We're waiting for the 80 and we started at 8%. So 8% to 80% will be our result for today. Let's see, should now jump to 80. Then let's see what time we scored. There we go. And under 15 minutes, so a little bit under 15 minutes, 8 to 80%. And also the charging curve here, peak was 388 kilowatt. Long plateau here, then it dropped to about 200, held it, and now we are dropping a little bit under 200 kilowatts. So yeah, this was really over delivery, so to speak. Let's go. Woo. That was the first 0 to 100 kilometers now with the Porsche Cayenne Electric, and this was not even launch control. So this was just slightly rolling start, but amateur. Maybe I have to check the time code again. It's crazy. You know why you would go for a turbo right now already. This vehicle here is equipped basically with everything: 22-inch wheels, rear axle steering, then the Porsche Active Ride. So that means it's not that the Cayenne would be tilting anyways with a normal suspension, but here with the active hydraulic system, it's really keeping everything straight at all times. It's another, it looks like another Porsche. Oh, and another one. So a lot of Porsche prototypes here, and it looks like there would also be a Cayenne Coupé coming, not only an SUV. Good to have seen these prototypes as well. And now we're here with 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour on the countryside road with the Porsche Active Ride, as I said, keeping it everything upright. Very direct steering input, as we know, and I mean, it drives like a Cayenne. So yes, you have the great power, and you also maybe hear it here in the Sport Plus mode, the sound emulation. There's maybe if you have some beeping sounds, it's like measuring technology in the back of this prototype vehicle. But the main focus here was also that it not only looks like a Cayenne, but it also drives like a Cayenne. The difference is, of course, yeah, you have the heavy battery in the center of the vehicle. On the one hand, it adds weight. On the other hand, it also keeps the center of gravity lower. So that's pro and con basically. But when you are in normal situations, you don't feel the extra weight. That would be maybe on the racetrack or when you're in very, very tight corners or something like that. In the Sport Plus mode, of course, suspension lower and stiffer as always. But at the same time, when the road is even, it's pretty nice. This active suspension also evens out everything, you know, no matter what's on the road. But we soon take a look at when we maybe have some bumps, how the 22-inch wheels behave. Oh, we can actually follow this Cayenne Coupé there. We could, but I think we have to drive here. So there we go. Oh, it's really nice punch out of the corner. So it drives extremely agile, and you have to think about this is almost 5 meters long, and you don't feel it at all. So the rear axle steering also fakes a shorter wheelbase, especially when you're driving a little bit slower. You can also go back to the normal mode. then the sound emulation is shut off. Suspension is a little bit more forgiving. If you want more comfort, of course, then don't go for the 22-inch wheels. Just pick smaller ones, for example, that they have some more dampening from the tire. But you can compare it, for example, to the Porsche Macan Electric, which is the smaller model at the same time, because this one drives so agile, and with the rear axis steering and this Porsche Active Drive, it doesn't feel that much bigger. At least not in normal situations. Of course, at some point you would feel it when you are really pushing the vehicle. But here also, even in the city, you have fun driving because of the direct steering. As here, every command is being transported to the road, just a small degree input. We also have the 12 o'clock marking here in this microfiber steering wheel. We are not allowed to show you more of the cockpit here, because that's for release at a later stage. What I can tell you is that we can expect a new kind of infotainment system with a curved display, actually. This is interesting. You can reach the lower portions of the infotainment. It'll be a little bit easier to control it. At the same time, you can see the upper part. So far, manufacturers have it more like curved that way around from the whole cockpit perspective. In this case here, it's curved like this, so very interesting. More taking over some more smartphone technologies. But at the same time, I'm happy it's not only about the smartphone, but really about driving the vehicle. And yeah, I wouldn't say we have less fun, maybe even more fun than with the Macan combustion engine. There is, of course, this sound difference that will always be the same, unless manufacturers start also offering us maybe like naturally aspirated V8 sounds. Well, there's a Cayenne Coupé combustion engine, Cayenne S. It's like set up here, We have certain display vehicles all around this course here. But even here, when it goes like some slalom, let's say in the city, especially with the active ride, you don't feel the car is moving at all. You can say that you maybe don't want that. With the Porsche Active Ride, the car feels, let's say, perfect. It's like maybe like in a computer game. If you want the car to behave a little bit more natural, that it does lean, let's say, a little bit, and you don't want this extra technology sophistication, you'll be also fine with the normal air suspension, which also is adaptive and lowers the vehicle at higher speeds, and it's more comfortable than in the normal mode, comfort mode, and then sport here again in the sport mode. And even here in the normal mode, you don't even need the sport mode. You have the power is just abundant, Leah is sitting in the back today, but she's still smiling. So she seems to be enjoying that, and that also speaks for the vehicle. We recently also had it with the BMW iX3 when we had the prototype drive there. Especially when you sit in the rear and then also in an electric vehicle, it's prone to getting sick, because of all the movements going and really extreme acceleration. But Leah is smiling all the time, so that's definitely speaking for the vehicle. This one has, by the way, also great recuperation possibilities, so up to, I think it was 600 kilowatt, and that means when I'm on the brake, it can almost gain everything back. That's of course good for going downhill to make it more efficient and so on. At 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, by the way, it's also extremely silent, so good noise insulation. I just checked it before. It also has dual insulation, for example, or this extra lamination. Not sure how you can pick it up on camera. This Sport Plus mode, this sound emulation you have there. It feels a little bit combustion engine alike, a little bit. Not extremely, but I would say the sound emulation is not so much spaceship alike, and I really like that. Not everything has to be like spaceship sounds in an electric vehicle. It is more into the combustion engine side. And here, these countryside roads, you might say that's something for smaller sports cars, but yeah, I'm having so much fun with this one. So really enjoying the drive. This is really all about being driver's focused, although it is a very heavy and long and big vehicle. And I wouldn't say that I have more fun in the Macan EV. Maybe I have even more fun with this one. You know that the combustion engine Cayenne is also one of the very rare large SUVs, together probably with an Audi RSQ8, which is the very same platform, which are actually even fun to drive on the racetrack. And At least from what I experience here, the same should account also for this one. And extremely silent, once again, here at 120 kilometers an hour, so like 70 miles an hour, something like that. Also try different modes once again. Normal mode, you hear no emulation. Then you can more concentrate on the wind noises, which are not that present. Here at 150 kilometers an hour, it's extremely silent. I mean, it's an SUV, it stands more against the wind. Here also lane changes at higher speeds, really calm and collected. As nothing would happen, you know, the car stays completely upright. Even in normal mode, enough power, still something going, 160, 170. Wow. And extremely silent here. I feel it's even more silent than the Cayenne combustion engine version. So just from like, I mean, it's really high speed here now. And also finely tuned the brakes, good feeling for it. You don't have, I mean, it's like a good brake blending, you know, between rig operation and using the friction brakes. But in most of the cases, you will only use the rig operation. Only when you like really do like really hard emergency braking, then you will also use the friction brakes. But this one is definitely more than enough Autobahn proof. So it is a good cruiser because you have also great comfort, but at the same time, it's also a quick Autobahn cruiser, so to speak. Yeah, definitely enjoying every minute of this driving part here. Wow. So driving wise, not only promises what it holds, not only holds the promises, but even over delivers definitely. So great motorway vehicle, and I honestly feel that I think it even drives better than the Macan electric here. So you know, we have this one topic of how much money are you still willing to pay for a Porsche? That is a thing that also moves the whole brand, and other competitors are also offering great vehicles, and also if you think about price-performance ratio. But in the driving part, yeah, there's hardly anything that can achieve that. And now after charging, we want to do one more Autobahn acceleration, because now when we have the full power, we can also put the full power to the German Autobahn. I just want to get safely on the middle lane and we can accelerate all out. So now we're here at 90 kilometers an hour. Let's go. 150, 170, 200, crazy, 220, 250, what the what? What? Okay. What was that? I don't know, it's just that maybe it felt a little bit, you know, that one episode where I was in the Rimac Nevera, like this hypercar comes close to it. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, you cannot see the instruments here today, as I said, this is still a secret, but I was just looking at the number in the head-up display. It's like, is this fake? Yeah, but Leah's still having fun. It's pretty cool. So smiling all the way. Wow, this is like insane acceleration, really insane acceleration, and you do not have the same acceleration if you're under 10% state of charge. So at some point, it also wants to save some energy. Wow, crazy stuff. That is definitely off the charts in any. I mean, it's a large SUV. I mean, yeah, but you hardly feel anything from it. And to me, the most important thing is you don't get sick. You know, car is also being kept upright in this, like in a lateral way. And usually, when you have so harsh accelerations, you tend to get sick. But here, it's not the case at all. Actually, here now getting off the motorway as well, and then you can see here this active ride in action. Car stays again upright, and I feel I'm driving a small sports car, literally. Well, and it gets even more extreme because I have this button here, the push to pass button, and then I have 10 seconds of maximum power and maybe some 50 to 100. Let's see, let this car pass. So we can see everything is going on in that corner. Just to be really safe, because it's gonna launch. What the? Yeah, that was 50 to 100 in like, what the hell? Pricing. Porsche promises that the price of a base Cayenne Electric, and they were just called Cayenne Electric, which is a good move. They don't need to have another name for that. Will start approximately at the price of today's Cayenne plug-in hybrid. For example, the German price would be 116,000 euros for a base version. Here the turbo, of course, will be way higher than that, maybe like 160, 180, something like that. So as I said earlier, it might be a problem because in the electric vehicle world, people look at the price or the leasing rate, and then they look at what do I get for a range for the price I invest. And this is, for example, better with the BMW iX3. However, then, as I said, the Cayenne is the larger vehicle. This one here recharges extremely quickly, and as the turbo, incredible performance figures considering this is still like a 2.5 tons of weight with a big battery and so on. I will be looking forward to the very final version, also for the whole interior we could not show you today and so on. But what about in general? You know, looking at the Porsche brand, you can see here, for example, we had the studio here and then get some 911 there in the background as well, another Cayenne prototype. So there were several issues. Maybe you've read the news and saw, oh, wait a minute, Porsche has dropped revenue by 90% in the last quarter. That is extremely massive. Porsche used to be the cash cow of the Volkswagen Corporation. Now Skoda is the most profitable brand at this moment in the Volkswagen Corporation. But what's happening with Porsche? First of all, that's counted for all manufacturers, especially for the German ones. The revenue in China has been dropping because the Chinese manufacturers, they have been pushing all the EVs to the markets. People are buying the Chinese corporations, especially in the electric vehicle segment, and of course more EVs in general. So the Germans sell less cars in China. That's the main profit margin problem. Then also especially bad for Porsche, the Trump tariffs. So Porsche is only producing in Germany, so they cannot produce, at least not yet, in the US. So they are massively hit by the tariffs. That's the second big problem, which is also then pushing down the revenue. And of course, third huge problem, they've dropped the combustion engine Porsche Macan. There's at the moment only the electric Macan left. And you have to think about the Macan combustion engine was their most sold model. And if you drop your most sold model, of course, the revenue also massively goes down. I cannot understand the decision, how they could have done this decision that way, because yes, people are buying more and more electric vehicles, but there is this transition period definitely where you have different technologies, you know, and people, some still buy the combustion engine, some buy the electric version. And yeah, the electric Macan is also sold, but of course not in the same amount as you were been selling the Macan combustion engine. And what they've decided now, they basically are going backwards now again, and they say they will launch a new Macan combustion engine version, which probably will not be called Macan, but something else. But this will take a few more years. You know that so far Macan was on the same platform like the Audi Q5. Probably the same will happen again, and then they will put another naming that they still have a smaller version than the Cayenne in the combustion engine segment. But this will not be this year, not next year, and probably also not the year after that. It will take some more years to develop this fully new vehicle then again. And I think it's a very necessary step to offer this one in that segment again. And of course here with the all-new Porsche Cayenne Electric, another step for a wider model portfolio. What do you think? What do you think what Porsche needs to do right now? And would you be interested in the electric Cayenne here, or would you rather be still buying the combustion engine Cayenne? Tell me in the comments. And now tune into more Cayenne content here on Autogefühl.